revealed the incredible truth that made a millionaire cancel his wedding to a poor cleaner. Jake stood at the edge of his sprawling estate, panic and uncertainty gnawing at his gut. A $1 million wedding was just weeks away. Every detail had been meticulously planned, every invitation sent. It should have been the culmination of his American dream, but his heart felt heavy. Across the neighborhood park, laughter bubbled from a group of local kids playing. It felt like an echo of his own simpler past, one he'd run from but never truly escaped. That weekend, while overseeing a neighborhood cleanup initiative, he met Rosa. She was a whirlwind of energy, scrubbing down park benches and handing out warm meals to families in need. Her children darted between her legs, giggling, while she organized stacks of donated clothes with ease. The sight of her compassionate spirit ignited something within him, a longing for the authenticity lost in his glittering world as he watched her. He couldn't help but feel a profound connection. Rosa didn't wear designer dresses or attend extravagant galas, yet she radiated warmth that seemed to shine brighter than any diamond ring or crystal chandelier he could ever afford. She was giving, selfless, and appeared to find joy in the smallest of things. In contrast, Emily, his fiancée, was devoting all her energy to planning a wedding that felt more like a spectacle than a sacred union. Jake grabbed a trash bag, his hands shaking slightly as he reached for a piece of litter. He started to engage with Rosa, learning about her life as a single mother of two. It was nothing like the polished stories he'd heard in boardrooms filled with privilege. It was raw. It was real. The more they spoke, the more he felt as though he was being pulled into a different reality, one untouched by the superficial standards he'd gradually succumbed to. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the community gathered around, sharing stories of Rosa's quiet but powerful heroism, something within Jake shifted. He felt an internal tug-of-war, the memories of his mother's sacrifices clashing against the glammed-up vision of his upcoming nuptials. The pain of realization gripped his chest. What if the people he sought to impress were missing the essence of humanity? Tears threatened to spill from his eyes as he stood in Rosa's presence, his heart breaking open. In that moment, clarity surged. Jake shared his newfound thoughts at a community meeting, addressing the gaping disparities and voicing respect for those who often went unnoticed. His voice shook, but conviction guided his words. The crowd leaned in, captivated. Generosity flowed from him as he publicly canceled his wedding to Emily, a choice rooted not in defiance, but in the sincerity of a heart rekindled for authenticity. As murmurs arose in the room, doubts flickered through his mind. Would Emily understand? Would he be shunned by the elite circles he navigated so effortlessly before? Was he ready to face what lay ahead, knowing that redefining his life meant diving straight into the turbulence of unrecognized love and rugged hope? The questions spiraled around him, leaving Jake standing at the edge of a new journey, grappling with the weight of his decision and the promise of something greater yet to come. The air hung heavy with anticipation as Jake stepped away from the crowd, the hum of voices swirling around him. He couldn't shake the feeling that the stirring in his heart was far more significant than any social event he'd ever hosted. Each word he had spoken echoed in his mind. It felt like a cleansing fire, painful but necessary. But now what? The path forward loomed murky and uncertain. Rosa was finishing up in the park, her laughter ringing out like a melody that warmed the air. He watched her from a distance, still reeling from the storm inside him. What had just happened? A lifetime of privilege and social expectations dissolved in an instant, leaving only the impression of her joyful spirit. He took a deep breath, the feelings swirling within him compelling him to approach her, to bridge that gap they had begun to forge during their earlier conversation. "Hey, Rosa," he said, his voice tentative yet filled with urgency. She turned, her smile lighting up her face. Did she have any idea how much she inspired him? Jake, you're back. Her enthusiasm washed over him, washing away remnants of his earlier hesitation. I've decided to make some changes, he stammered, unsure of how to express the chaos unfurling in his chest. About the wedding. Her smile faded slightly, sensing the gravity in his tone. Oh, I canceled it, he confessed, still battling the disbelief swirling inside him. Rosa's eyes widened in surprise. Really? The genuine wonder in her voice wrapped around him like a comforting blanket. Yeah, it just didn't feel right. I thought that's what I wanted, but now I realize I want something more. He paused, searching for the right words through the cloud of emotion. I want realness. I want to help people like you, who are doing incredible things every day. Rosa's gaze softened. That's brave, Jake. Not many would take a step back from all that glitz and glamour. Are you sure you're ready for the changes that will come? The question hung in the air, asking more than just about his decision. He thought about Emily, her reactions, the whispers of judgment from the elites he had come to know so well. But then, he remembered the laughter of kids playing at the park, the genuine goodness he felt in that moment with Rosa. I don't think I can go back to pretending anymore, he replied, his voice steady. I want to find out who I am without any more masks. Rosa nodded, her approval giving him a surge of hope. That's a journey worth taking. Just remember it's not going to be easy, but change often isn't. Jake smiled, feeling lighter, the weight of his decision settling into something that felt right. Together they walked to the edge of the park, the sun casting long shadows on the ground, reflecting the new beginnings growing inside both of them. But even as he began to plant roots in this newfound direction, whispers of Emily's lingering presence tightened around him. What would she do when she found out? How would their world clash with the new one he was entering? The questions hovered, as uncertain as the shifting clouds above. Jake glanced at Rosa, whose strength steadied him. He didn't have all the answers, and perhaps the road ahead would be messy and complicated. But he was ready. In that moment, he knew he had to face them head-on. Jake, can I ask? Rosa began, her expression shifting to something more serious. Are you ready to confront your past? Because it sounds like things could get quite turbulent. He took a deep breath, uncertainty swirling once again. Would he have the courage to face not only Emily but the part of himself that had long been buried? The truth was out there waiting, and he was about to step into its unforgiving light. Jake stood at the park's edge, the sunlight dancing through the leaves, creating a patchwork of warmth and shadows on the ground. He and Rosa had shared a moment, a newfound connection sparked by honesty and a desire for change. But doubt crept back in, like a chill settling in the air. What would Emily think? The thought of her sharp gaze brought his heart to a standstill. What would she say about this new path he was contemplating? Jake? Rosa asked, breaking through his reverie. The concern etched on her face pulled him back to the present. What's going through your mind? He hesitated. He didn't want to burden her with the weight of his tangled thoughts, but she deserved the truth. I keep thinking about Emily. I know she'll be furious, or worse, heartbroken. She thought we were perfect, he admitted, feeling pain twinge in his chest. Rosa's gaze turned soft. It's understandable to worry about that. But remember, this is your life. You deserve to be happy too. The sincerity in her voice wrapped around his heart. Yet we built something together. I keep wondering if there was something I could done differently. Rosa shook her head gently. You can't change the past. You can only move forward. Embrace who you truly are. As her words settled, he felt a resolve building deep inside him. He had hidden for too long behind privilege and expectations. He wanted to be seen not as the billionaire son of society's elite, but as someone willing to step into the unknown, willing to feel, to grow, and to care. Okay, he said slowly, determination edging into his voice. You're right. I can't keep running from this. I need to talk to her to set things straight. Just be honest with her, Jake. Don't shy away from your truth. Rosa encouraged, her eyes glimmering with belief. You'll feel lighter for it, I promise. Jake nodded, feeling a mix of fear and adrenaline. Being honest about his choices would mean giving up the image he'd carefully constructed, the life that everyone expected him to lead. It meant confronting not only Emily but also the parts of himself he had long ignored. "Let us stop at that cafe down the street," Rosa said, surprising him with her enthusiasm. "I want to celebrate this new step with you." They walked side by side, a comfortable silence enveloping them. With every step, his heart beat a little faster, both in excitement and in fear of what lay ahead. The cafe bustled with life, laughter, the smell of fresh coffee enveloping them in warmth. As they settled at a small table, he allowed his nerves to settle in. Maybe this path wasn't as daunting as it seemed. "What's next for you after you talk to Emily?" Rosa asked, sipping her drink. Jake leaned back, considering her words. His heart raced at the mention of his future. "I want to get involved with the community, to find ways to contribute. I want to be out there helping, making an impact." Rosa's eyes sparkled. "That sounds amazing. I'd love to help you however I can." He smiled at her encouragement, realizing the true depth of their connection. In that moment, everything felt possible. The weight of expectations began to lift, replaced by an eagerness to embrace the unknown. But even as excitement bubbled within him, the looming reality of his conversation with Emily settled heavily on his chest. Was he prepared to face the confrontation that awaited him? "Jake, whatever happens, I believe in you," Rosa said quietly, her voice steady. He met her gaze, feeling gratitude wash over him. It was time to confront his past and step into the truth that awaited him as they left the cafe. He took a deep breath, the air filled with possibility. But deep inside, unease crept back. How would Emily react? Would she understand or lash out, leaving him more broken than before? The truth shimmered just ahead, but how would it affect those he cared about the most? As he walked forward, uncertainties bounced around his mind, leaving him to wonder if liberation would come with a cost. Jake stood outside the cafe, sunlight dancing in his eyes, yet the warmth felt distant. His heart thudded against his chest, a wild drum echoing the uncertainties that loomed ahead. He could see the reflection of himself in the glass door, an image that felt both familiar and foreign. Was he really ready to step into a conversation that could alter everything? He turned to Rosa, who was now standing beside him, her support a tangible anchor. "Shall we?" she prompted, her voice laced with encouragement. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. They walked toward Emily's apartment, the familiar route now heavy with the weight of impending change. As they strolled, Jake replayed 1,000 potential scenarios in his mind. He pictured Emily's face, the happiness that had lit up her features just last week. The thought of crushing that light made his chest tighten. What if she doesn't take it well? He mused aloud, breaking the silence that had fallen between them. Rosa looked at him, her expression unwavering. "Then you'll deal with it. But you have to share your truth, Jake. Hiding it won't help either of you." He nodded, though the knot in his stomach didn't loosen. Just as they neared Emily's building, a sudden flare of indecision gripped him. This was the moment that could lead toward liberation, but also one that could shatter all he'd known. "Jake?" Rosa's gentle voice pierced through the storm brewing inside him. "You've got this." He turned toward her, gratitude swirling within him. The way she believed in him made it a little easier to breathe. "Thanks, Rosa. I hope Emily understands." As they reached the front door, a rush of anxiety washed over him. He hesitated, hand poised to knock, thoughts spiraling. But before he could second-guess himself, Rosa pressed her palm on his shoulder, grounding him. "Just be honest. Remember, this is about you both figuring out what you really want," she reminded him, her gaze steady and sincere. Taking in a shaky breath, Jake rapped his knuckles on the door. The soft sound echoed like a soft heartbeat in a tense space. Moments later, Emily appeared, her bright smile faltering slightly as she took in the sight of him standing there, with Rosa beside him. "Hey, you're both here," she greeted, her voice bright but her brow furrowing in confusion. "What's going on?" Jake opened his mouth, but the words tangled in his throat, fear rendering him momentarily mute. "Maybe a talk indoors?" Rosa suggested, sensing the energy shift. Jake nodded and they entered. The apartment felt cozy, filled with the scent of lavender and the warmth of a life lived with love. But inside, Jake felt cold. "Can I get you anything?" Emily asked, her eyes darting between them. "Tea? Coffee?" "No, we need to talk." Jake found the words, though they felt heavy and fraught. He took a step forward, needing to convey everything coiling inside him. "I didn't come here just for a casual chat." Emily's expression morphed from question to concern. "Okay, what is it?" Jake glanced at Rosa, who nodded, offering silent encouragement. "It's about us, Emily. About who I am and what's been happening in my life." As he began to unravel the truth, his pulse quickened. Every word blurted out stacked like brittle cards. He shared his confusion, the encounters with Rosa, and the way he felt alive for the first time in years. He watched as Emily's face shifted from surprise to hurt, her smile wavering and cracking. "Jake, how could you even think this?" she whispered, her voice barely above a whisper as tears pooled in her eyes. The ache twisted in his chest. Had he done the right thing, or was he ripping apart the fabric of their lives? He opened his mouth to respond, but the words simply vanished, replaced by the churning feelings of regret and loss. "Emily," he started, attempting to grasp at the pieces of fractured trust. He was desperate to hold onto her understanding even while his choices seemed to tear it apart. "I can't believe this," she said, shaking her head slightly, the light in her eyes dimming. "Have you even thought about what you're doing?" The atmosphere thickened, heavy with tension. Just then, Jake knew that this conversation was only the beginning, a prelude to the emotional storm that was about to unfold. As he stood there, grappling with the weight of his decisions, one question flared in his mind. Could he truly be free, or would this moment shatter everything he once held dear? Jake swallowed hard, his throat feeling as parched as a desert. Emily's gaze pierced through him, full of disbelief and hurt. It stung like a fresh bruise, a reminder of the life they had built together, and now, it felt like it was disintegrating before his very eyes. "Emily, I never wanted to hurt you," he finally managed, his voice trembling. "But this is who I am. I can't live a lie anymore." She didn't respond at first, just crossed her arms tightly, as if that would shield her from the truth he had laid bare. The silence echoed in the small room, amplifying the weight of their shared history and the burden of what could never be taken back. "I mean, how can you say that?" Emily finally countered, her voice rising slightly with each word. "We have plans, a future, and now you're telling me it was all a facade?" Jake's heart sank as he watched her crumble. He felt like he was sinking with her, the ground beneath him breaking apart. "I'm sorry, I thought you should know," he replied, his voice a quiet echo of the whirlwind in his heart. Rosa shifted uneasily, wanting to support Jake but also recognizing the depth of Emily's pain. "Emily, Jake didn't come here to destroy everything you have. He's just trying to be honest about who he really is," she interjected softly, trying to lighten the jagged tension in the room. "Honesty or betrayal?" Emily snapped, gesturing wildly. "You're choosing now, of all times, to tell me this? Right before our wedding?" Rosa's presence provided a small tether for Jake, but he felt the rift deepen with every passing moment. "Emily, I know it feels abrupt. It's not like I planned for any of this. I thought I could push through. I wanted us to work, but just admit it. You've been lying to me all this time," she yelled, tears finally spilling down her cheeks. Each droplet seemed to pull a piece of Jake's heart down with it. "No, that's not fair," Jake shot back, frustration piercing through his guilt. "I didn't lie to you. I was just afraid. Afraid of losing you and what we had." Emily's features softened for a brief moment, but the storm within her remained. "But you did lose me the moment you met Rosa, didn't you? You could have told me. We could have figured things out together." The words landed heavily, each one crashing like waves against the rocks of their relationship. He wished he could take back the pain he had caused, the hearts he had unintentionally shattered with his truth. "I never meant to replace you, you know that, do I?" she whispered, still shaking her head as if trying to shake off the truth. The haunting suspense loomed, a pendulum swinging dangerously between what had been and what could never be. "Look," Rosa said, stepping closer, earnestness etched on her face. "Jake needs to figure out his path, but he's here because he cares about you. You both matter to each other. This isn't just an ending. It's a chance to redefine things." Emily's expression flickered, caught somewhere between anger and vulnerability. Jake could feel the tightening of his chest, the panic of what lay on the horizon. Would forgiveness find a place in this moment, or was it too late for them? Jake breathed deeply, summoning every ounce of courage he had left. "I don't know how to fix this, Emily, but I want to try. I want to try for both of us. Just talk to me." Silence enveloped them once again, the air heavy with unspoken words and unresolved pain. Emily's resolve seemed to waver, but the fear in her eyes told him that nothing could repair what felt so irrevocably broken. As she looked away, squaring her shoulders and wringing her hands, Jake realized they were standing at a crossroads, a point where every decision was a new beginning or a painful end. His heart raced with the weight of the moment. If she couldn't see a way forward, what would happen to them both? "Let us just take a moment," she finally said, her voice cutting through the tangle of emotions. "I need to think." As she turned, emotion surged through Jake. Would this be their last moment together, or could they still navigate the wreckage? He could hardly breathe as he watched her retreat into her thoughts. And so, he was left there, suspended in uncertainty, heart pounding, caught between hope and despair. Would this moment mark the starting line of healing, or was it the final chapter of their story? Jake stood alone in the dimly lit room, the heaviness pressing on him like a lead weight. He took a shaky breath, trying to grasp the threads of a conversation that felt so surreal, yet so painfully real. Was it really possible that everything he had known, everything he had fought for, was unraveling in front of him? He felt a rush of warmth from the sunlight seeping through the window, but it offered no comfort. Instead, it illuminated the stark contrast of their world-joyful wedding plans now overshadowed by heartbreak. Jake closed his eyes for a moment, hoping to shut out the whirlwind, to find a sliver of clarity amidst the chaos. Across the room, Emily turned her back toward him, an action that felt like an invisible wall rising between them. Her shoulders were tense, and Jake could see the tremble of her hands. Each minute of silence felt like a dagger, slicing their shared memories into pieces. He wanted to reach out, to pull her close and remind her of all the good times they had shared, but the weight of his truth kept him rooted in place. Rosa shifted uneasily, glancing between the two of them. She stepped forward, casting a gentle look at Emily. "Hey, let us just take a breather. Just breathe," she said softly, as if trying to soothe a restless child. Emily nodded slightly but remained still, her inner conflict raging like a storm. Jake couldn't help but admire Rosa's courage. She was a friend, an unexpected beacon in this dark hour. He felt a flicker of gratitude for her presence but also guilt he was the reason for this turmoil. How could he reconcile that? "Emily," he finally said, his voice barely more than a whisper, "I never meant to hurt you, I swear. But I can't live in the shadows of denial anymore." The warmth from earlier dimmed as Emily turned slowly. Her eyes glistened with tears, reflecting a blend of pain, anger, and vulnerability. "You say that now, Jake, but what about everything we've shared? Was it all just a lie?" "No, it wasn't. I loved you, still do. But while I was living a life that I thought would make us happy, I was also denying this part of myself," he admitted, fighting against the awkwardness that hung between them. "Every day I was terrified of losing you, but I ended up losing myself instead." As she stared at him, doubt flickered across her expression. Jake felt a surge of desperation. "I thought I could fix it, but trying to conform it just pushed me away from who I truly am. It was never about you. It was always about my fear, Emily." For a moment, her expression softened, and the corner of her mouth twitched almost imperceptibly. "Jake, I really love the person I thought you were," she trailed off, searching for the right words. "Let me show you who I really am," he urged, stepping closer. The air thickened with unresolved tension, pulling them together like magnets. "I don't expect you to forgive me right away. But if there's even the slightest chance for us to redefine our relationship, I'm willing to fight for it. Emily took a breath, her eyes flickering with doubt, hope, and pain all rolled into one. I don't know if I can ever completely trust you again, she admitted gently. Then let us start small. I'll be here for you. Let me hold your hand through this journey, Jake said, his voice filled with raw honesty. He reached out tentatively, his hand hovering in midair like a silent plea as she hesitated. A strange, uncertain stillness enveloped them. Everything was at stake for their past, their future, the fleeting chance of rekindling something beautiful amidst the chaos. Did trust still sit somewhere in the corners of Emily's heart? But what would happen when the inevitable wave of reality crashed against their fragile truce? Would they drown, or could they learn to swim together once again? The silence stretched on, a taut string threatening to snap. Emily looked at Jake, her expression a mixture of fury and longing, as if she were wrestling with the ghosts of their shared past. Jake's heart raced, and he took a small step forward, each movement feeling monumental, like navigating an uncharted territory. Jake, what if we tried? Emily finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. The words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken possibilities. But how do we even start? Let us take it day by day, he suggested, feebly grasping for stability in the chaos they found themselves in. We can talk about everything we've been through, the good and the bad. It'll be uncomfortable, I promise you that, but it's the only way forward. Emily sighed, the weight of the decisions ahead visibly settling on her shoulders. And what if it's too painful? What if the memories are better left buried? Her voice wavered, caught between desire and fear. Jake weighed his next words carefully. Sometimes digging up the past is the only way to move forward. We can't build a foundation on secrets, and I've kept too many. But I want to face it all with you, if you'll let me. She wiped away a single tear that had escaped her control. I love you, Jake, but that love feels so different now. It's twisted, it's fragile. The confession seemed to tear at her very essence, and Jake felt the pang of heartache echo in his own chest. I know, he replied, feeling the struggle between hope and despair. But I want to fix it. I want to fight for us, for the love we had, for the love we can still have. And what if you can't fix it? Emily asked, her eyes narrowing in skepticism. You say you're ready to show me who you really are, but can you truly free yourself from those shadows? Her words hit Jake like a rush of cold water. Could he? He thought about the years spent hiding, playing a part. The fear of judgment, the thought of losing the life he knew. But when he looked into Emily's eyes, he saw that the only way through was to be genuine and vulnerable, despite the risks. Every day, I promise to show you. It won't be perfect and I'll stumble. But I won't stop trying, Jake said, a fierce determination rising inside him. Rosa's soft expression reminded him that they weren't alone in this turmoil. She stepped forward again, her support palpable. This might be your chance, Emily. You don't have to decide everything in one go. Just take a small step back into the light. Taking a deep breath, Emily nodded, although uncertainty clouded her gaze. What if I step forward and find it's still not enough? Then we will keep stepping together, Jake replied, his tone unwavering. In this moment, let us just take it one day at a time and see where it leads. There was a pause, as uncertainty battled against the flicker of hope igniting in the room. Jake reached out again, slowly closing the distance, allowing his fingertips to brush against hers. The electricity was familiar, the warmth igniting a long-buried part of their relationship, a whisper of what they could be. Emily hesitated before finally entwining her fingers with his, and for an instant, the world felt right again. They were still tangled in the chaos, but they had taken a step onto a new path. Together, as they shared this fragile moment, the door swung open, and a loud voice interrupted their clarity. Hey, what is going on in here? It was Mark, Jake's younger brother, appearing in the doorway with a grin, oblivious to the heavy emotions swirling inside. Jake's heart sank. Outside, the world was moving on, full of joy and indifference, while they were trapped in their tangled web of emotions. How would they ever find a way out if they couldn't first find their footing? Just a moment, Emily replied softly, pulling her hand away as if it stung. The warmth of connection slipped into coldness in an instant. Jake looked from Mark to Emily, the weight of their fragile truce crashing down like a wave. How could they navigate this? Would their moment of vulnerability slip away entirely? As he searched Emily's eyes, doubt crept in. Again, would they fall apart completely when faced with the world beyond these four walls? Jake swallowed hard, feeling that cold wave of reality rush back in. Mark, with his bright smile and carefree attitude, seemed like a hurricane disrupting their fragile tranquility. Emily moved away, pulling back as if touched by frost rather than the warmth they just shared. "What are you guys whispering about? Looks like a serious discussion," Mark said, leaning against the doorframe, his tone teasing and light. "Just some personal stuff," Jake said, trying to mask the turmoil spinning in his stomach. He shot Emily a cautious look, hoping she would hold on, that their connection wouldn't shatter under the bright lights of this innocent distraction. "Yeah, don't keep me out of the loop," Mark winked, oblivious to the real emotions at play. "You're not going to elope without me, right?" Emily managed a weak smile, but Jake noticed the way her eyes darted away from Mark, almost seeking refuge in the faded wallpaper. The laughter felt miles away, and as they both stared at the younger brother, the moment of hope seemed to evaporate like mist in the sun. "Mark, can you give us a sec?" Jake finally asked, frustration creeping into his voice. "It's important." Mark's smile faltered for a moment as he took in the serious undertone. "Sure. I'll be upstairs just shouting if you need me." He retreated, the door closing behind him with a soft click that echoed in the stillness of the room. "Do you think we'll ever have a moment that doesn't feel tense?" Emily asked, her voice tinged with anxiety. She rubbed her temple, like an old wound was throbbing back to life. It broke Jake's heart to see her vulnerability slip away beneath the weight of reality. "I wish I could say yes," he admitted, "but it's going to be messy. We'll have to learn how to breathe through the chaos." Emily shook her head briefly, unsure. "I feel like we're running forward but glancing back at the past, scared to trip. It's confusing." Jake stepped closer, closing the space carved out by doubt. "Maybe confusion's part of the process. Look at it this way, each step is us telling the past that it doesn't own us anymore. And if we stumble?" she asked, her eyes wide and searching. "Then we pick each other up," he said softly, wishing he could ease her fears with a single touch. "One day we'll get stronger with every fall." The room felt dense with the weight of unspoken fears, past mistakes flaring up like fireflies at dusk. Yet, here in the swirling storm, they started finding trembling beams of light. "Let us not leave it as a secret anymore," Emily said suddenly, her voice firmer. "Whatever shadows are lurking between us, let us name them. The doubt, the anger, it all needs to come out." "Agreed," Jake said, knowing it was the right decision, even if ache pulsed at the thought. "But how? We have to build a safe space first, or we'll just end up hurling accusations in the dark." Emily nodded, her shoulders relaxing slightly as she started to see beyond the immediate chaos. "Then we take it one messy moment at a time, right?" "Right," Jake replied, a flicker of exhilaration breaking through the uncertainty. Just then, the sudden shrill sound of a phone broke the fragile silence, and Emily jumped. "Sorry, it's mine," she said, pulling the device from her pocket. The expression on her face faltered. "It's my sister. Is everything okay?" Emily's eyes narrowed, tension returning in an instant. "It might be about our dad. He has been in and out of the hospital, and I haven't heard from her in a few days. Why don't you answer?" Jake urged gently. Taking a deep breath, Emily pressed accept and put the phone to her ear. "Hello?" she said, tension building in her voice. Jake could see the walls she had fought to dismantle starting to thicken again as she spoke. Her expression shifted from curiosity to concern, the lines of her face tightening. Uncertainty filled the air once more. Jake's heart raced, knowing both their futures hinged as much on this phone call as their messy conversation. Would they continue stepping forward? Or could this development pull them apart irrevocably? The room felt charged with anticipation. The silence crashed back around them, and Jake leaned closer, not wanting to miss a moment, aware that something profound was about to be revealed. What news awaited them on the other end of the line? Emily? The voice on the other end of the line sounded strained, yet familiar. Jake caught the hitch in her breath, sharp and quick, like she was trying to hold back a flood of emotions. "Is it Dad?" she asked, her voice trembling with urgency. "Yeah, it's about him. I need you to come to the hospital," her sister replied. "He has had a setback." Serious. Emily's expression went blank. Jake saw color drain from her face. The warmth between them evaporated as the weight of the words sank in. "I'll be right there," she stammered, her grip tightening on the phone. She ended the call and stared into space, her mind a whirlwind. What did she say?" Jake asked, panic threading through his voice. He is not doing well." Tears pooled in her eyes, but she blinked hard, trying to fight them back. "I have to go." Jake stepped forward, reaching out to touch her arm in a comforting gesture. "Do you want me to come with you?" "I don't think so," she replied quickly, shaking her head. "I need to be there for my family. I can't drag you into this chaos." The turmoil in Jake's chest flared. "But I want to support you. Whatever's happening, we're in this together." "No, Jake, you don't understand." Emily's voice cut through like a knife. "I need to handle this alone. My dad, it's complicated. I don't know if I can handle everything right now." She turned away, trying to regain her composure. Jake watched as she took a moment, breathing deeply, turning her back to him as if she could hide her vulnerability from view. The scene felt like it was shattering into pieces again. He felt a mix of urgency and helplessness. In all this confusion, he couldn't help but feel the distance widening between them as Emily grabbed her bag. Jake steeled his resolve. "Okay, whatever you choose, I'm still here. Just promise you'll keep me in the loop?" She hesitated. "I will, I promise." But the way she said it felt far off and uncertain, like a fragile thread that could snap at any moment. With one last glance back, she rushed toward the door, leaving Jake standing alone in the room. The air felt heavy, etched with the unfinished conversation hanging, festering like an untreated wound. He glanced toward the staircase where Mark had retreated, laughter sputtering into silence. Mark would never understand the weight of these moments, nor the heaviness of Emily's heart. What did it mean that her father's illness could tear into their fragile bond? Suddenly, thoughts raced through Jake's head. What if this was the moment? What if Emily needed to lean on him, needed him to step beyond all the shadows that loomed between them? As he clenched his fists in determination, the front door clicked shut. He stood there for a moment, a storm of uncertainty swirling inside him. Then suddenly, his phone buzzed in his pocket, jolting him back. The screen lit up, and he saw the name flash. Sophie. The familiar panic rushed through him again. Why now? He could feel the cold sweat gathering. He had thought the past was behind him, but now it felt like it was rising back up, demanding to be addressed. With his heart pounding, he answered the call. "Sophie, what is it?" "Jake, listen. I need to talk to you about something important." And just like that, the chaos of the day deepened, leaving him to wonder how far this new twist would draw them apart or push them closer together. Would this call reveal truths he was not ready to face? Jake stood alone in the apartment, swallowing hard as the weight of Emily's departure settled into his bones. Her pain flickered through the air like a fading light, leaving him in shadow. Just moments ago, they were at the precipice of something real, a chance to redefine their love. Now it felt as if a chasm had opened up, swallowing hope whole. Taking a deep breath, he turned to Rosa, who had been quietly observing. Her presence was steady, a quiet strength in the growing storm. "What now?" he asked, his voice cracking under the pressure. "Now we wait," Rosa said softly, her eyes kind and understanding. "Let her process everything. She's going through so much. Support her from afar for now." Jake nodded, feeling the sting of reality pressing down on him. "It's just all so complicated. I can't help but feel I'm losing her again, and now, with her father sick." He ran a hand through his hair, frustration spilling over. "And then there's Sophie. I thought I closed that chapter." "Then open a new one," Rosa urged gently. Don't let fear dictate your choices, Jake. You can be there for Emily, even from a distance. And as for Sophie, face your past so it doesn't shadow your future. He appreciated her unwavering support, even while his heart raced at the prospect of confronting the whirlwind of emotions and unresolved issues that loomed ahead. Will I be strong enough for all of this? He muttered, more to himself than to her. Strength isn't about always having the right answers, Rosa replied, but the willingness to face what's difficult with an open heart. Trust yourself, trust the journey. With determination coursing through him, he pulled out his phone and stared at the lit screen showing Sophia's name. It felt like opening Pandora's box once again. The memories flooding back. What if she brought more trouble into his life? But he couldn't keep running. Do you think I should answer? He asked Rosa, conflicted. Only if you're ready, she replied, her voice firm yet gentle. Before giving in to hesitation, he tapped the screen and brought the phone to his ear. Sophie? Jake. I'm so relieved you answered. Sophia's voice was urgent, penetrating the stillness that had taken residence in his thoughts. We really need to talk about something important. What is it? Jake felt the tightness in his chest again, the uncertainty creeping back in. I know things haven't been easy with all the last-minute chaos, but I really need your help. Something's not right, and I thought of you. Please, take a moment just to listen. Jake didn't know what to expect. Part of him wanted to slam the door shut on Sophie for good, bury that chapter of his life once and for all. But there was another part that remembered the laughter, the connection, a time when everything felt right. All right, he said, the weight in his gut reminding him that the only way forward was through. I'm listening. He had to hear her out. Emily's voice echoed in his mind, mingling with the burden of fear and doubt. But amidst it all, he felt a flame of determination igniting in his heart. He owed it to himself to confront his past, to be honest not only with Emily but also with himself. Hours melted into an anxious wait. Jake paced the room, reading into every tick of the clock, every sound echoing in the quiet apartment. His heart raced every time someone approached the door, praying it would be Emily. Rosa sat patiently, a beacon of support, silently acknowledging the storm brewing inside him. Finally, Emily returned, her expression one of fragility and determination. It was almost as if she was carrying the weight of the world. For a split second, their eyes locked, and Jake felt hope surge. But then, just as quickly, her features hardened. The safe space between them pressed down like a heavy cloud. Jake, can we talk? Emily's voice was steady, yet the tremor beneath betrayed her struggle. Of course, he nodded, feeling the tension coil like a spring. They moved to the living room where the air pulsed with unspoken words, each of them preparing to lay bare their truths. Jake could feel the gravity of the moment and drew strength from Rosa's presence just out of sight, a reminder that he wasn't alone. About earlier, Emily started, her voice quiet. I know we had our moment, but it's like everything instantly fell apart. Tears gathered in her eyes, threatening to spill once more, but she pressed on. I just don't know how to process it, Jake. You changed the rules on me, and now, with my dad sick, I feel lost. I'm so sorry, Jake said, sincerity flooding his voice. But I'm here. Just I need you to trust that I'm trying to figure this out too. That's the problem, she replied, her eyes flashing with vulnerability and strength. I don't think I can trust you right now. Everything feels messy and complicated. First, you're leaving me for a life I don't understand, and now, the chaos with my dad? I know how difficult this is, he interjected gently, his heart heavy with remorse. But can we face it together, even when it gets tough? Emily leaned back, the weight on her shoulders evident. I don't know if I can give you what you want, Jake. I'm trying to keep my family together, to hold on to what's important. I don't even know where you fit into that. Jake felt his heart sink, the world shifting irreparably beneath him. Please, he urged. I'm fighting to find a way back to you. Let us not give up just yet. Not with everything at stake. Tears flowed freely this time as her resolve began to crack. Jake took a step closer, feeling the warmth of their connection looming behind every fear. Let us figure it out one step at a time. We can rebuild. Together. She hesitated, the tension hanging thick in the air, the silence wrapping around them like a cocoon. And then, almost as if drawn by an invisible thread, Emily stepped forward, reaching for his hand, interlacing her fingers in an act that promised hope. They stood there, feeling the rawness, vulnerability, and life rushing back into the spaces they had almost lost. Someone else could have appeared, knocking loudly at the door, disrupting their fragile moment, but in that instant, all that mattered was the warmth that flickered between them, reigniting the connection they both craved. Their road ahead wasn't going to be easy. No fairy tale ending waited for them just beyond the horizon. But together, step by step through the confusion and chaos, they would find a way. As they embraced, the world outside faded away. A new beginning was forming in the heart of this moment. Though the future lay uncertain, they had each other, and that was enough to forge ahead into whatever lay beyond the darkness. All they needed was trust, a flicker of hope, and the strength to face it together. Now it's time to act. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories full of transformations just like this one. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, and keep more heart-touching journeys coming your way. Comment below to share your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to hear your thoughts. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share the light of this journey. Be a true fan, support the channel, and spread the love.